Hello and welcome to the Week 17 edition of the Monster Pod. Matt Brown, Noops Christensen here, running through each and every game. Well, each and every game that is still remaining, as 3 games have already been played this week in the books on Christmas Day. And some interesting stuff did go down there. Not like anything crazy, but the Lions did get eliminated from the playoffs as the Vikings go in and beat them outright. It was a slim chance of getting in anyway, so we won't waste a ton of our breath here on the games there on Christmas and get right into an absolute banger here, Noops, on a Saturday. Houston on the road at the Chargers. This is a 1.5, 2 points in favor of the Chargers at home. 39.5 is our total here in this one. I've kind of said it multiple times here on the pod, but for people who are just finding us, I don't really do home field advantage much anymore anyway. I've actually even talked to a couple of former players that didn't retire that long ago. As early as yesterday, I talked to Jeff Schwartz, who played in the NFL. His brother, Mitchell Schwartz, played in the NFL. And I'm like, man, honestly, now that you guys fly charter flights and stay in 5-star hotels and whatever, like, what's home field worth? And he's like, honestly, unless it's one of the 3 or 4 loudest stadiums where it can mess up snap counts and stuff or whatever and all of that. But like all of the other stuff that used to be factored into home field advantage, the crappy travel and not sleeping in a good bed and like food and all that, he's like, that's all. Yes, that's all the way of the dodo. He's like, that's donezo. So that's a long way of me saying the Chargers have 0 home field advantage to me. And honestly, this might be half Houston fans in the stands out there, Noops.
Yeah, and to add what you're saying, too, it's also, home field advantage used to be about the officiating, maybe being a little more towards one side than the other. And now with instant replays, with all those replay officials, with as many people as there are with eyes on officials, I don't think we see a home whistle like we used to anymore. So I think, as we've talked about, it's going to be a continuing project for us to try to figure out, and we've seen it, it used to be even 4 or 5 years ago, it was 3 points and then 2.5 points and 2. And this year, I think, you look at a lot of lines. I mean, a lot of 1.5s, a lot of 2.5s, where again, there used to be a lot of 3s. So I agree with you. And I think that sort of speaks volumes. As for the game, it should be a really interesting matchup. It's a replay of the wild card game last year when the Texans sort of beat up on that Chargers team. And what's interesting to me is the matchup is very similar on both sides of the ball, where you've got 2 good defenses. Of course, the Texans defense is better than the Chargers defense, but you also have 2 offensive lines that are an absolute mess, especially with Trent Brown being out for the Houston Texans. Really the best guy, the only real great lineman they have. And what concerns me basically is CJ Stroud. Some games are good, some games are bad. He's really, really up and down, whereas Herbert has basically been without an offensive line for 5 or 6 weeks and has started to adapt to it. Now, again, things are going to be even worse. There's another tackle that's going to be missing for the Chargers. So I think we're down to like the 4th string guy. It's just going to be kind of a mess of a game. I still think the Chargers are in a little better position. Again, for the Texans, this is probably the first game in several weeks where they don't have to kind of give it their all. They're pretty comfortably in the playoffs at this point. It's just whether or not they're going to try to compete for the AFC South title with the Jaguars, which seems like it's a little out of reach. So if you're Houston, you're not pushing as hard maybe. Same thing with the Chargers. So it's just kind of a tough game. I do still lean towards the Chargers. At the end of the day, I feel more confident and Herbert in that offense and what they're going to be able to do, as opposed to Stroud in that offense and what they'll be able to do. But very close game. I think the numbers are really solid here. Lean towards the Chargers, but nothing official. Just happy to watch a really great game on Saturday afternoon.
Yeah, I am. I'm sitting here kind of hanging out. If a 3 pops, I'm going to have to play the Texans on principle, just where I have these teams in my power ratings. It's about on the number right now. I probably would just forego the 2 and just play the Texans money line if I was interested in the Texans at all.
Yeah.
I would need to wait until the 3 before I'd be interested in the spread here. So I'm going to see how this all plays out as we get a little bit closer to game time. It being on a Saturday, being an island game, it's going to get some action. I just don't know which way it's going to go. I don't know if Houston's going to be the side.
Do you realistically think we'll see 3?
I don't know. I mean, we're 2 at Circa, we're 2 at Fanatics, we're 2 at MGM already without kind of the public money coming in yet. I don't know. And if it is hit it, it's going to be you're going to have to be sitting in front of your computer or on your app or something because it's not going to last that long.
Yeah, you'll have seconds to hit.
Kind of what I'm waiting on here with this. But one play that I do have in, and I will say, chalk this under what nobody cares what you have. I have 21.5. The best in the market right now is 23.5. I don't think it's that big of a difference, but I have Justin Herbert rushing yards here in this one. This offensive line, as you it's been terrible all year, and it's going to be even worse in this game. And this is the worst defensive line in the NFL for you to have a bad offensive line against. They lead the league in pressure rate. They have two different guys with 12 sacks on the season. It's going to be a nightmare for Justin Herbert in that pocket, but he might be only second to Patrick Mahomes in feeling pressure and getting the hell out of there. Like, he is very good at that, and he's had to become very good at that because of this offensive line. And you go and you look at these games where he's played teams that have a pulse on the defensive line: 32 yards rushing, 31 yards rushing, 24 yards rushing, 60 yards rushing, 31, 62, 57, 21 on the nose, so I would lose by a half a yard, but 21 on the nose, 66, 42. These are all games this season for Justin Herbert from a rushing standpoint. And so, again, I think Will Anderson, I think he's going to be back there creating all kinds of havoc. And like I said, Justin Herbert, I trust him to feel that pressure and get out of there. He's done it multiple times. I just listed off all of these games this year that he's been able to figure out how to do that. And I think he's just getting better at it. I think he's one of the very best. Like I said, maybe only second to Mahomes as far as like feeling pressure and just understanding I got to abort mission, right? Get out of here and save myself. And so the over rush yards, like I said, it's up 2 yards from where I got it. I'd still play it at 23.5.
I love that look. And again, if you're looking at 23.5, it's juicy. Find 25 plus at plus money. And don't be afraid to sprinkle Justin Herbert anytime touchdown score. He's running 2 already this year. I'm seeing that at plus 650, plus 700. Again, game state here, especially given the Chargers backfield kind of issues. I know Amari Hampton's been healthier and better. Vidal's still there, but I love what you're saying here is, Herbert's been happy to run the ball, and he's going to have to run for his life. So I like that. Play the rush yards over and play the touchdown.
Late game on Saturday, Baltimore at Green Bay. This is out to 4.5 now after hitting as high as 5.5 yesterday. 40.5 is our total here in this one. The news comes through. Lamar Jackson is doubtful for this game. Noops, this is one of those things where the lessons that we learn as bettors, and this is one of the ones that we learn as bettors because this opened at 2.5. I put a Green Bay 2.5 in my account because I assumed that Lamar Jackson was not going to play in this game. And even if Jordan Love didn't clear concussion protocol, I just like Green Bay, who has everything to play for at home. Malik Willis, they have a whole offense like for Malik Willis. Like, they literally changed the offensive strategy when Willis has to come into the game and all of that over what Snoop Huntley brings to this offense that is not good in the first place. Well, we get the official news. And like I said, this thing ran all the way to 5.5 yesterday before some buyback finally came in on Baltimore. So people don't read the tea leaves, right? Like, they want to have you tell them that is exactly what's going to happen. That's what we saw, but we're still sitting way out at 4.5 now. It's certainly less appealing on this side of 3. What say you here in Green Bay in a game which they can win and be in?
Yeah, well, what I'll also note is the Packers are already.
Oh, they're already. That's right, because the Lions lost. Yeah.
Exactly. So with the Lions loss yesterday, have Green Bay, who really is kind of cemented into the 7th seed in the NFC. They're 9-5-1, but the teams ahead of them, San Francisco, Los Angeles, they've got 11 wins. So even if those teams lose out and the Packers win out, it's still going to be really tough for them to get there. And I think what this line movement really is more about, not just that Jordan Love might be out, Malik Willis might be out. And I think that's why this game is really difficult to bet, because I agree. If you look at the line movement, I think it opened up kind of assuming maybe Malik Willis, definitely kind of Snoop Huntley. And now that it's sort of moved to 4.5, I think people are feeling maybe a little more comfortable about Willis playing or Jordan Love possibly getting in there because, again, to kind of break down how these lines are set, a lot of times books will try to figure out what the percent chance is they think of either quarterback playing and kind of straddle that. And to me, this looks like a line where we think there's a chance Love's going to play. It's probably going to be Malik Willis. We've definitely got Snoop Huntley on the other side, but I just don't know how you feel confident about this. I do agree with you that if Malik Willis is going to be the quarterback and this drops maybe to like 3.5, 3, I'm going to grab some Packers. I think Malik Willis, like you said, they've got an offense built for him. There's still a lot of talent in this Green Bay offense from a position player perspective. So it's kind of a decision tree for me. So what I'll say is, if we find out Jordan Love is in and we still get a chance to bet the Packers at less than 6, I'll bet the Packers. If we find out that Malik Willis is playing and we're looking at, 3.5, 3, I'll grab some Packers. But if Willis is out, if Love is out, and we got to have Clayton Tune here playing for a Packers team that, again, doesn't have to win this game, I might have to hold my nose and eat the stinkiest cheese that is the Baltimore Ravens.
Yeah, I am, and I could be wrong. Again, so everything we're doing as we're recording this is just speculation.
Yep.
I kind of feel like if Love is able to play, they play Love so that they can rest him in 18, because you don't want him to sit 2 weeks, right? And
Exactly.
So I think it's one of those where if Love can play, then you play him this week so you can rest him in week 18. That's, again, just a gut feeling for me in this. He still has to clear concussion protocol. We'll probably know later today, whether he does or whether he doesn't. And unfortunately, we're recording this early on Friday. But I'm just guessing with them kind of locked into where they're going to be. It's the perfect scenario to rest anybody that you want to rest in week 18. And I think Jordan Love obviously falls directly into that, as does Josh Jacobs, who's kind of been beat up here and there and all of that. But my guess is you don't want to sit your quarterback 2 weeks in a row and then have him have to start a playoff game. So that's why I think he plays if he clears, but that's just my speculation.
No, and the other thing we should mention too is this is a dire must-win for this Ravens team. And if they're going to go out there in that situation on the road with Snoop Huntley, people always talk about must-win teams are more likely to win. I tend to think that those teams are the ones with more pressure. You've got a Green Bay team that's basically playing with house money. They can win this game. They can lose this game. Everything will be fine. Baltimore has to win this game. And even if they do, there's still a chance they miss out here. So I think you really are looking towards the Packers, again, unless it's the worst case scenario and we're seeing Clayton Tune in his first start for Green Bay.
Yeah, it's like if you're in a must-win situation, you must have shit the bed somewhere along the way to get yourself in that situation, right? So
exactly,
there's always that. All right, Arizona Cardinals on the road at the Cincinnati Bengals. This is sitting out 7.5 in favor of Cincinnati. 53.5 is our total. Who'd have thunk it that week 17, people playing for an $18 million top prize, that we're likely going to get some people on Cincinnati and that defense here in Circa Survivor, but that's likely going to happen. We'll be following that action all the way until they write the big check for that contest. But with 9 remaining, I imagine Cincinnati is on the table for sure for some of these teams. With Arizona, Noops, we keep talking about this. I mean, I don't know if I've ever seen a team as snake bit from an injury standpoint as this team. They lose 2 more starters last week on defense to go along with the 3 running backs and Harrison being in and out of the lineup, Kyler Murray going down, all those other defensive starters they've lost. That's why we're sitting on the other side of 7 at the majority of the books out there in favor of Cincinnati, who has a defense that can't stop a nosebleed.
Well, and they also have a quarterback who some weeks seems like he's having fun and exciting and being excited. Other weeks, he's saying stuff like, no team would have won with me at quarterback today. I'm not having fun. Maybe I don't want to do this, next year. So it's there are so many questions on each side of the ball. Again, as we say every week, just play Jacoby Brissett, pass attempts over, or pass completions over, because that's all they can really do here. I mean, at this point, even Bam Knight is out. I mean, they're down to just nobody at running back, and I wish that I could trust Burrow, because this seems like a spot where the Bengals should be able to score 50 points in this game.
It's right. It's kind of like you either. I wouldn't lay the 7.5. It's like if Cincinnati plays a complete game and Burrow and Chase and Higgins and whatever do what they're supposed to do, they probably win. Like you said, they probably win by like 17. So it's like you almost would just like play alts. I would almost rather play alts if I was in on Cincinnati than I would just lay in the 7.5. I'd probably lay like 9.5, just under 10, then take it on the other side of 10, take it just under 14, like stuff like that. Because if they play, like if they actually play a Cincinnati Bengals offensive game, then it's almost name your score on the offensive side. But we haven't gotten that every week from them.
No, I agree. I'm looking at it right now. 9.5, right around plus 115, 13.5, plus 180. I think those are definitely the ways you look. I was hoping to play a Bengals team total over, but the stupid efficient market got to this already. It's 30.5,
Whew.
juiced to minus 130 on the over.
Whew.
And again, it's just right. Those are huge numbers. And it's maybe the Bengals score 40 points, but do you really want to put your hard-earned money behind a Bengals team with a quarterback who seems to be having a lot of, let's call it, mental concerns about what's going on in his lack of effort? It's, again, two teams. They're absolutely dead. Again, maybe the best advice is what I keep giving out at the end of the season. If you live in Cincinnati, if you live in Arizona, and you've watched football every week for the last 4 months, this is the weekend to pretend like you're giving up something big. Go spend some time with your significant others and just be like, we'll give up football. It's the holiday times. Let's keep the good vibes going. I'll skip the football game. Let's go out and do something, honey.
Yeah. And, there'd be some people who might bring up a teaser. Cincinnati is just not the type of team I like to tease because, like I said, if they play good, then they cover this number and probably cover the alts. If they play bad, they probably just lose outright. And you don't want to have a ticket on them at 1.5. It's not one of those. It's not like the next game we'll talk about, which will, whatever little foreshadowing here. But it's not like one of those type teams. If Cincinnati plays good, they probably beat them by 17. If they play bad, they could lose this game outright. And that's not the kind of teaser I want to be holding. Now, Seattle is on the road here at Carolina. They are 7.5 point favorites. And I would gladly take a teaser leg with Seattle because even if they don't play their A game, that defense is so good that them losing by margin is not likely. I mean, losing outright here is very much not likely. And they can kind of win this thing by a field goal, as we've seen multiple times this year with Seattle when the offense has struggled a little bit. 42.5 is the total here in this one. And Noops, again, shockingly enough, a very, very important game for both of these teams.
Yeah, if you're the Seattle Seahawks, you've got the number 1 seed right now. You've got to basically win out to hold on to that. But it's a tough spot for them. It's a sandwich spot. You come off of playing the Rams. You've got the 49ers next week. This game is important, but again, you got to go from Seattle to Carolina. Now, extra rest. They played on Thursday, so they've had a couple extra days to sort of get ready here. It's just, I think really what this game comes down to is I still don't know what to expect from the Carolina Panthers. I just don't. I mean, we liked them last week. That was one of our better calls. That game, was pretty comfortably theirs, especially if you played the +3 all 4 quarters. But again, they're going up against a real defense this week, one of the best defenses in the league. And Seattle's been a little banged up in the secondary. I think they'll be okay here. I'm not ready to lay 7.5 with the team going cross country with a look ahead spot to San Francisco next week in a game they do need to win, but probably could still lose and maybe have a chance to get the 1 seed here. So I'm really close to taking Carolina, honestly, +7.5. Yep. They've been good, and especially at home, closing late. This feels like a spot where you're just never going to feel safe if you're laying the points with Seattle. It's just you're going to be watching Bryce Young the whole 4th quarter, throwing it to Tet McMillan, Jalen Coker, all those guys. It's just a really, really scary spot. So it's Panthers or pass, but I can't get myself to back.
Yeah, the problem with Seattle is despite the fact that in 10-minute spurts, they look like they have the best offense in the NFL. That's all you get per game is 10 minutes. They just mess around way too much for my liking. And when it's on the other side of 7, like you're talking about, you can get 7.5s out there right now. 7.5 seems great to me with Carolina, mainly because Seattle just refuses to go out there and keep their foot on the gas for 60 minutes on the offensive side of the ball. Now, the defense plays like hell all game long. Defense is going to show up for sure, but that offense, man, it's just not there the whole time. And so I'm with you. It's a pretty strong lean to Carolina, probably at the very least a contest play for me, and maybe even something I throw in there at a smaller kind of unit deal for me. Cause I think Bryce Young at home has been pretty good. Bryce Young's league average, and league average is okay these days, right? I mean, he's league average, but league average is okay. It's not like it's the worst thing in the world to be league average.
Yeah, and the last thing I'll add, I'd feel better about the Seahawks if they had a good run game. They don't.
Right.
They've been really inconsistent. And again, if you're laying points with a team like this, even with a good defense, they need to have a run game. You need somebody where, if the Seahawks have the ball with 3.5 minutes left, the Panthers aren't getting it back. And that's just not the case. So again, you're never really going to feel safe here. If, the 7.5 is a little expensive right now, if they get down to, regular prices or even a cheap 7.5, I will probably reluctantly grab the Panthers.
Pittsburgh is on the road at Cleveland. They are juiced threes right now. It is 34 and a half our total here in this one. And if you're wondering what's going on with this is one of those games that could be completely affected by what happens on Saturday, because should the Ravens lose, then the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to the playoffs and don't have to do anything to get into the playoffs. And so we have this kind of line that's sitting there going, well, maybe they play hard and maybe they don't play hard, and and that's kind of where we are with a ridiculously preseason-esque 34 to 34. Actually, MGM has 33 and a half up right now. Actually,
wow.
Still, yeah, like we can find a 33 and a half, which again is a preseason total.
That's got to be the lowest total of the year. I'd have to double check. I remember some 34s, some 35s, but yeah. 33 is just ridiculous. And like you said, hit the nail on the head. It's a big thing this week. We'll talk about a couple other games that are affected by kind of what happened Saturday. Yeah, if the Ravens go out, lay an egg, and lose that game, the Steelers have no real reason to push it hard here. I do expect Tomlin in these games has still pushed the team, especially the defense, to play really well. The other really interesting subplot is Myles Garrett is 1 sack away from the single season sack record. He's at 22. The record is at 22 and a half. And if he can do it in this game, we don't have to have the stupid conversation about, well, it took 17 games instead of 16. Yeah. I would really like to see that. That would be really exciting. But for me, the angle here is this Browns team, I don't know how they're going to score more than 14, 15 points in this game. Judkins, all prayers to him, man. I hope he's okay. Yeah. That looked absolutely brutal, that injury last week. But without him, there's not going to be a run game. Shedeur Sanders has been okay, but again, more of a game manager here. And I don't think he looked healthy last week. I know he has no injury designation. Basically has been okay this week, but just doesn't quite look like himself. And TJ Watt might be back this week from his lung injury. So, I mean, I think this is a spot where you just take a Browns team total under. I'm seeing 15 and a half. Great. If you got 14 and a half in front of you, that's just fine. I really struggle to see how in this game that should be slow and ugly, and especially if the Steelers don't have to win, I think we're just going to see him run the ball 100 times here. Basically try to keep Garrett from getting that record. So I think we're going to see the clock tick a lot, and we're going to see a Browns offense that is going to be wildly, wildly limited here. So give me some Browns team total under 15 and a half, 14 and a half. It's all good.
The other thing about this is we are looking at potential weather. It's not a lock that it's going to be weather because it's Cleveland this time of year, and so you can never really know, but at least the models right now are saying like 15 sustained, which kind of gets on that border of maybe messing with like deep passes and stuff. Gus over 20, which anything over 20 does kind of affect deeper passes and kicks and things and stuff like that. And maybe some precipitation to mix in with all of the wind and what, so that, which obviously just funnels more into your under as well, with that. So something to monitor, more like on Sunday morning to see how things are looking there in Cleveland, but it could even like double down on all of that, what I'm going to do is kind of hold out and see what that weather does look like on Sunday morning. And if we're to the point where it's looking pretty gross, I'm probably just going to like pound Kenneth Gainwell stuff because he has become Aaron Rodgers' favorite target. And that means, over everybody, like, Gainwell runs these little high percentage routes. He's there for the dump offs. He's there for the little over the middle stuff. He's there, whatever. I know he made the crazy down the field catch last week, but that's not really what he's used for. And if the weather's kind of whatever and they want to keep stuff around the line of scrimmage, Gainwell might have like 7 catches in this game. Seriously, like he literally might have 7 receptions in this game on 10 targets. And I'm not speaking in hyperbole here. Like he already has games of 5 and 6 catches and stuff or whatever as it is. And if the weather forces them to keep things even closer to around the line of scrimmage, it would not shock me if he has like 7 catches in this game. And so I will be kind of monitoring that because I will be then gravitated towards some Gainwell stuff.
I love that idea. And the other prop I was thinking about as we were breaking this down, I don't see it up yet, but Aaron Rodgers' longest completion under. That's almost certainly going to be a bet I make. Again, especially if the wind is bad, especially if the Ravens lose, and we got to go chalky here.
No DK Metcalf.
Exactly, right. So give me Rodgers, longest completion under, maybe again, even try to go in, trick the parlay machine a little bit. Give me the Steelers spread with Aaron Rodgers
Yep.
pass yards under, Steelers spread, Aaron Rodgers, longest completion under, stuff like that.
30 seconds of sports talk radio. DK Metcalf definitely should be suspended because you can't do that. Also, if a fan is a complete asshole, then like we've got to figure out ways to like the guy was sitting there literally trying to get something done. Apparently went back up in the crowd and screamed. That was the goal whenever he did all this. So it's like, if you're there just to cause a problem, then, middle finger to you. If you're there just to cause a problem, you suck as a human.
He should be allowed back in the stadium
Yeah.
and it seems like they've had some interactions before. Reading about this a little bit, this guy has been sort of hunting down DK Metcalf, and again, there is absolutely no excuse as a professional athlete to walk over, and whether you think it's a punch, a slap, a push, there is absolutely no reason to make physical contact with fans in the stands, but there's got to be, some punishment both ways. I mean, Metcalf, it's just such a bummer, all the guaranteed money that gets wiped out of that and things like that, but to have no punishment whatsoever for whoever this fan is, you got to take his tickets away for the rest of the season. Maybe he's not back allowed in the stadium. I totally agree with you here. Yeah. Metcalf's punishment makes sense to me, but no punishment for the fan is just unbelievable.
Yeah, it's like I can hold two thoughts in my brain, and I can say DK Metcalf was dumb for doing that because you just have to know better, while also saying that fan is a loser. I can do that too. I both things can be true.
Both people can be wrong. In fact, a lot of times they are in a fight.
New Orleans Saints on the road at the Tennessee Titans. This is 2.5 in favor of the Saints. 39.5 is our total. And if you want those 2.5s, you might want to get after it because we are juiced at most of the places out there here on the Saints. And I actually get it. I laid it with the Saints news. I mean, I understand it was a cute little story with Tennessee last week on a completely dead Chiefs team that was dead team walking. I get that. But this Saints team is playing very hard and actually looking much better. And Tyler Shook might actually get a shot to start for this team next year, as opposed to them going and getting back into the quarterback market. And oh, by the way, because, I like to go to these random points in the season. No, really, it's not random. I like to go to week 10. It's the halfway point of the season. We're on the other side of the halfway point. What have you done for me lately? Whatever. The number one defense in the NFL since week 10, according to EPA allowed, is the New Orleans Saints. And so it is really, really interesting for them going in up against Ward, who, look, is playing hard. He just has no talent around him. There's just, you can only do so much when you have the worst roster in the NFL. And so under a field goal, I couldn't believe it, but I like the Saints.
I love the Saints. I've got the 2.5.
Yeah.
I'm going to wait and just kind of see how things shake out here. I'm going to probably play some -5.5, -9.5, some stuff like that. And it's almost as simple as the Saints are actively trying to win games. And, as I went through and kind of looked into some of their salary cap stuff, because you would think Saints are a bad team, you want a better draft pick, but the Saints are still dealing with some salary cap issues from past seasons. And I almost wonder, if you're the GM, you want a higher draft pick because those contracts are set. And you don't want to draft a rookie and have to put a big top 3, top 4 contract on your salary cap. You'd actually probably rather have something a little further down. Shuck has been great. I mean, honestly, we keep saying maybe he's good, maybe he's good. I think he's good. I think we're looking at someone who, again, can at worst be a league average quarterback, which is pretty solid for a football team. Again, the defense has been great. I think the market, for some reason, is still concerned about Kamara not playing. I think it's better. I think the Saints offense is better without a veteran who seems disinterested in kind of playing here. So I love it. I grabbed the Saints. I think this is an awesome spot. The only hang up for me was going to be Saints. You got an indoor dome team playing in Tennessee in December. The weather's going to be great. Looks like it's going to be high 50s, low 60s, not really any wind or anything adversarial there. So, give me the Saints. I can't believe I said it last week. I'm laying points to the Saints. I'm doing it again this week. Maybe we'll do it next week.
Who knows? Yeah, I know. I'm with you, man. I looked at this one and I go, under a field goal? Sign me up. I'm in. Sounds great to me.
Easiest click of the week.
Tampa Bay Bucks on the road at the Miami Dolphins. This is a prevailing 6, though there's one juiced 5.5 out there in favor of the Bucks on the road. 45.5 is the total here. Miami going to roll again with Quinn Ewers. And honestly, Noops, I went and rewatched this game because I kind of wanted to see. And yeah, he made a dude making his first start in the NFL mistakes, but he looked pretty confident. He didn't look like a deer in the headlights. He looked like he was okay throwing the ball down the field. Usually one of our big gripes with these dudes making their first starts is they're gun shy and they're hesitant and all that. Like, I don't know. I weirdly, in what ended up being a blowout loss, but I mean, I weirdly kind of like what I saw in him from last week.
So my question is, does that say more about Quinn Ewers or more about what is shaping up to be the worst defense in NFL history? That's kind of what we have to think about. It's against a Bengals team, which, again, Aaron Schatz tweets about this every week. The creator of DVOA does some great stuff. And the Bengals are looking like they're going to end up being the worst defense in NFL history by significant margin here. And what I kind of saw was, again, I think you're right. I think he looked a little more confident than maybe we expected. I wonder, again, if that's him or McDaniels not being afraid to kind of play call and have him push the ball down the field. This is an absolute must-win for Tampa Bay. After losing to Carolina last week, they have to win this game, and then I think they have to also beat Carolina next week. I think that's the only way, basically, they get in. So, now, again, I said at the top of the show, must-win kind of situations go both ways, but what I see here is a rookie quarterback going up against a Todd Bowles defense that is finally starting to get to be a little healthy. Bowles defenses tend to be very hard for rookies. He does a great job of disguising coverages, disguising blitzes here. So, again, as impressive it was to see Quinn Ewers score 21 points, it was only 21 points against the worst defense in history. The team total for the Dolphins in this game is 19.5. I'm just going to take the under on that. I wish I could trust Tampa Bay. You know, if you're looking at the spread, laying 6 with the Buccaneers is probably solid, but I just can't trust Baker Mayfield. He is still not 100%. Whatever shoulder injury or leg injury he's been playing through here is really, really limiting him. And I think, again, if the Buccaneers are going to cover the 6, they're going to have to put up some points here. But I think you could see Tampa Bay sort of win this game, be in control, and just keep this Dolphins offense, which, again, injured, limited, rookie quarterback here. It's tough for me to expect the Dolphins to score 20 points. So give me Dolphins team total under 19.5.
I knew something was going on because we get to this game and then all of a sudden my board starts lighting up and I'm wondering. So I head over to the Twitter machine. So Tristan Wirfs, Anthony Nelson, and Kalijah Kancey are all out for the Bucs on Sunday. So I knew something was going on whenever that happened.
Yeah,
it was more people betting the total as opposed to the spread. I think it's mainly people just thinking like maybe they don't score as many points with Tristan Wirfs out there and whatever. And so anyway, it was so as I said, the prevailing total is 45.5. It is now the prevailing total is 44.5. So everybody has come in and like started hitting the under here on this one, but it didn't really affect the spread. It's still sitting 6 at the majority of places out there, but I knew something was going on because it's like the one game where everything was like lighting up on the board as we were talking about it. And so those 3 guys are officially ruled out for the Bucs this week.
Yeah, so I'll say then, I quoted the Dolphins team total at 19.5. My guess is it's 18.5, maybe a nice plus money at 17.5. Again, I still think that's a good number. If the Buccaneers offense is going to be limited, we know they like to run the ball, and it's especially when you're missing linemen, running the ball is better. Backup linemen are better at run blocking generally as opposed to pass blocking. So again, I think everything kind of sets up here nicely. And I think, again, like you said, the market coming in, they're not taking the points with the Dolphins. They're just going to keep betting the under here. So again, I really like this Dolphins team total under. I think the game state for it is going to be excellent.
Yeah, we're looking Dolphins. Minka Fitzpatrick's not going to play for them, so he's out. And I think, it's just some injury news that was coming through specifically for that game as we just happened to be talking about it, which is fairly interesting that's the way that this all went down. Okay, so we head on over here to Jacksonville and Indianapolis. This is 5.5, 6 in favor of Jacksonville. 48.5 to 49 is our prevailing total. Now, some interesting stuff going on here in this one, Noops, as people are backing Indianapolis here in this one. This was 6.5 yesterday, and we are down again as low as a market low of 5.5 in favor of Jacksonville. What say you here in this one? Because I'm kind of confused by this.
Yeah, this is a spot where, again, this is a game that's going to be affected by what happens Saturday. If the Texans win, the Colts are out. The Colts have nothing to play for. They have no reason to be out there. So Do they put Rivers back out there? Do they try Anthony Richardson? It's just a really interesting game. And what I was kind of thinking was, especially now that it's 5.5, let me just lay the points with the Jaguars here. If the Texans win on Saturday, this line's probably going to jump out to 7.5, 8.5. You're going to have a really nice, tasty middle. And I wonder, honestly, Matt, if the better idea is take like a Chargers money line parlay, like with a Colts alt spread, because again, if the Chargers win, the Colts still have a chance. Maybe they try to be competitive, and at the same time, take like a Texans money line Jaguars spread kind of thing, where again, if the Texans win, the Colts have absolutely no reason to play, and I think again, you're going to be really ahead of that Jaguars number there. So I think that's kind of what I'm going to do. I maybe need to spend a little more time thinking about this, but
I just threw a 5.5 in my account. I was kind of leaning towards the Jags anyway. I mean, it's been a fine little story with Phillip Rivers, and I think it's cute and all, but like this Jacksonville defense is for real. They're not going to let Jonathan Taylor do anything on the ground. This is what teams have done now. They just load the box and say, okay, Phillip, we get it, buddy. You don't have the arm strength to beat us down the field anymore or whatever. And like we saw that play out last week. The Jags defense is going to do the exact same thing. And like you said, and the Colts just might be dead in the water. Maybe they decide to go to Anthony Richardson, who hasn't thrown an NFL pass in several months and whatever. So I don't know. 5.5 is just too low. On the underside of 6 was too much for me. That was I'm glad that we waited to get to this game because that board was lighting up as well, and people coming in taking Indy. I'm like, all right, you can take Indy all you want to. I think you're trying to get a little bit too cute in this thing.
Yeah, again, I don't understand people making big wagers on this game before what we see Saturday, especially with Texans Chargers being really kind of a coin flip. Again, I kind of like the Chargers. I've seen some people like the Texans, but that game is going to wildly change the dynamic of this matchup. And I think we're getting honest effort out of Jacksonville regardless. They're still playing for the number 1 seed. So, yeah, I think, again, if you listen to this in time, if you get to this before Saturday's game, lay the points with the Jaguars. And, again, do like a Jaguars Texans parlay kind of thing, because those outcomes are going to be very correlated.
New England Patriots are on the road at the Jets. They are 13.5-point favorites here. 42.5 to 43 is the total. We know Jets dead team walking. New England still needs to win because of all of the implications over there in the AFC. I just get a thing coming through here. No Kayshon Boutte out at practice today again. He's dealing with a concussion, which means he ain't going to play. So they're going to have to do it without him. That said, I mean, it's the Jets. They're going to win. I just don't know if they're going to win by 14 or not. Noops. Again, these are my soft spot when it comes to betting the NFL. Like these kind of like 2 touchdown spreads have always been kind of my weakness, and so I tend to shy away from them more times than not.
Well, especially with Mike Vrabel as a head coach, who's a good head coach. Now, made a couple curious decisions over the last few weeks, but he has been known to go vanilla in these spots. If you're the Patriots, you can win this game running the ball 100 times. You don't need to have Drake May pushing the ball down the field. And, without Boutte, we'll see Kyle Williams probably get some more work for him. Maybe look at Kyle Williams to score a touchdown, but it's something I'm hesitant to play because, again, I think if you're New England, you're saving your powder here. It's going to be a lot of Ramondre Stevenson, a lot of Travion Henderson running the ball. Let's max protect Drake May. Let's just get out of here with a win and nobody getting hurt. So I just absolutely 100% cannot trust the Patriots to play a style of game where they're able to cover 2 touchdowns. But I'm definitely not taking 13.
Hell no. That's what I'm saying.
Woo, no.
Maybe this is the candidate for put it on the rocket and fire it into the Sun game of the week, because just like any outcome here, if the Patriots played soft in the fourth quarter and the Jets got 10 garbage points and they only won by 6, that wouldn't surprise me just as much as if they won by 26. It's just like any of those outcomes are in play for me.
Yeah, again, it's another game where if you're a Patriots fan, you're a Jets fan, let's pretend like you're really sacrificing something by not watching this game. Go get yourself some cheap tickets to the Nutcracker since we're past Christmas. Go do something with the family and earn some brownie points here as you skip a game that you really don't need to watch.
The Giants are on the road here in Las Vegas. They are going in as point and a half favorites. 41.5 is the total. And guys, players don't tank, but teams can tank. And Las Vegas moves Brock Bowers to IR. that lingering knee injury that he's had, even though he was playing through it for whatever and all that. Move him to IR. And if you're wondering why I say this, it's because this game is for the number one pick in the draft. They are 1-2 currently in the draft right now. And it would not surprise me if we wake up on Sunday morning and the Raiders move a couple more guys to IR who have maybe some lingering injuries and some things that are going on with them, because this could be a franchise altering, oops, accidentally stumble into a win-win for this Raiders team, because the Giants will just take that number one pick and trade it away for a king's ransom because they don't need a quarterback, and someone will come and pay them to take Mendoza or to take Dante Moore or whatever it's going to be, where the Raiders would have their choice of which quarterback that they want to take and which one they want to build around for their franchise moving forward. So again, Noob's like, I know it's the Giants on the road. I laid the 1 point because I think the Raiders are going to organizationally, not the players. The players are going to play hard when they're out there, but I think organizationally they might make it tougher on them to win. And I think Pete Carroll might get the message from upstairs as well. We don't need to be super aggressive. If it's 4th and 4 on the 48, we can punt it away. Like, we don't need to be going for, like, I think there's little things that might be done here. And so there's too much of a stank on this game with the first pick in play. So I laid it with the Giants. Full narrative play. Maybe the first time like in my life, but full narrative play for me.
Yeah, this is a game where, this Raiders team, like you said, players don't tank because you can't play football at less than 100% without risking getting hurt. And with the non-guaranteed natures of a lot of contracts, these guys are playing for their livelihoods. But I agree, Brock Bowers is on IR. I wouldn't be shocked if we see Max Crosby put on the IR. He's questionable here this week. I would be blown away if we see Max Crosby play in this football game. But at the same time, the Giants very clearly decided Jackson Dart needs to be reined in last week. I know there was a little weather at the beginning of the game, but wind stopped in the second half, and they still didn't let him throw the ball. It was run, and they can do that in this game. So, like you said, I mean, this is going to be like a game of chicken, except it's going to be the opposite. It's going to be everyone trying to avoid each other. So I think this game is just impossible to handicap. I was sort of looking towards the under, but kind of like you said, there is a chance that the Giants, again, come out. They know they've got kind of a solid team. They could always use a high draft pick, but 1, 2, 3, it doesn't make a big difference. They're probably grabbing, that big offensive lineman out of Utah. They don't need a quarterback there. Or again, they're going to trade back. So I think we just see him run the ball a lot. And if Max Crosby sits, I mean, this Raiders defense could give up 41, 42 points on their own. And all of a sudden, you're looking over here. So I've been staring at under 40.5 all week. But the biggest advantage we have as bettors is we don't have to bet every game. And I will not be betting this one.
Yeah, I mean, I made a narrative bet and I can't even remember, but like, this is like franchise altering mistake if they win this game. Like, I mean, it's literally franchise altering mistake if you win this game.
The Raiders have to lose. Have to.
Like, because you did the Geno experiment. Geno's washed. Like, I mean, you did the experiment. He's done. So you got to move on, and like, exactly. Can't put yourself in a bad spot here. Philadelphia and Buffalo going to round out the afternoon window here. It is 1.5 to 2 in favor of Buffalo at home over the Eagles. 44.5 is the total. Now, Josh Allen is dealing with a little bit of an ankle injury, but all indications are he is going to play, Noops.
Yeah, and this game is really tough to handicap because, I think at a quick glance, you think to yourself, well, it's not really a hugely important game for the Eagles. It is an important game for the Bills. They're trying to catch up to New England here. Curious to see if Buffalo sort of changes any of their strategy if New England wins comfortably as they're expected to. Again, the Bills can still catch them in the last week of the season. The Eagles, they're the third seed in the NFC. They're pretty much set there. Again, I wonder if something happens with the Bears. Maybe we see the Eagles kind of do something different, but it's an important game. Both of these teams kind of need to win. And like you said, Josh Allen played with a foot injury. We saw him come back to the game last week, but was a shell of himself. Really did not look great. I think the Bills were really lucky to get out of that Cleveland game with a nice clean win as the way they were. So this is a game where I think we have to wait live and kind of see how this looks. If the game starts here, Josh Allen looks like he's moving around okay. I'll bet the over. I think that you're looking at this. If Josh Allen's healthy, the Eagles are going to have to respect the pass game. And you can run on this Eagles team, especially without Nakobe Dean playing here. So maybe look at some James Cook overs and things like that. And again, if Allen's healthy, I'll almost certainly be playing the over because the Eagles can score here, but I just don't quite know. And if Allen doesn't look healthy, I'm going to quickly be grabbing some Eagles money line here at plus money. So again, we got to wait till it's live, and that's kind of my decision tree. If Allen's playing well, give me the over. If Allen looks like he's struggling to move, struggling to plant his foot there, this is a very winnable game for Philadelphia.
Yeah, it's super interesting because, like you said, there's not a ton for the Eagles to play for, but at the same time, you had that big lull in the season. You've kind of actually got some momentum going here, and I don't think you can afford to kind of take this game off, because it's just like
it's a perfect tune-up
rhythm
game.
A little bit on offense. The defense has been balling out, by the way. Last month of the season, defense is a top 5 defense in the NFL. But on the offensive side, you got it going. And do you really want to then come out and then just do what you were doing when the players were pissed off and the fans were pissed off and all this stuff? I think you kind of got to play here. So I'm with you. You watch a few drives. If Allen's not moving around, Allen's not running, Allen's not whatever, this defense is going to be really good. Then I think you just pounce on the Eagles in this afternoon window because again, it's not like some of these other teams. They can't mess around. They can't play with their food here. They gotta keep going and figure out if this little momentum they've built over the last 3 weeks is still sustainable and all that. So I expect actually to see a pretty full Eagles effort here in this game.
Yeah, especially considering too, you've got week 18 next week. They're playing Washington. You can rest everybody next week and still win that game if you need to from a seeding perspective. And I think you're right. From a confidence perspective, if the Eagles can go into Buffalo and win this game by 7 to 10 points, be in kind of control here, I think you really change the momentum in the locker room. And then again, you enable yourself to maybe only play Hurts for half the game in week 18, to let Saquon Barkley rest and kind of get fresh, to keep Lane Johnson on the sideline so he doesn't get hurt again here. So I agree. I think it's a huge leverage spot for the Philadelphia Eagles, and the market might be underrating that a little bit. But again, if Allen's healthy, the Bills are going to be able to score points, and it's hard to trust the Eagles to score even against a bad Buffalo defense.
Sunday night football, Chicago Bears and the San Francisco 49ers. Who'd have thunk week 17 this game would be for so much, but it is. We are sitting here, of course, all of our Sunday night football coverage brought to you by our friends over at Bet365. Awesome menu over there. If you don't have that out, if you live in a Bet365 market, you got to go in, head over to lineups, click on the offer over there. It's the best one in the business, and get that account. It's certainly going to pay off for you. Not only do they have some bets that you can't find at other books or whatever, but they just have a really incredible menu for all the different sports. And so doing a great job at Bet365. So take advantage of that. Noops, it is 3 in favor of the 49ers. And as I say that, the score, don't call it ESPN, is out to 3.5 now in favor of the 49ers. 52.5 is our total here in this one. Huge implications in this thing as everything is still up for grabs over in the NFC. George Kittle is a game time decision for San Francisco, which obviously matters. And so take that for what it's worth as we kind of talk through this handicap.
Yeah, it's a situation where, again, both of these teams are really competitive for the 1 seed. I know people haven't thought about the 49ers. They're pretty quietly 11-4 and have a game next week against Seattle that would basically allow them to not only win their division, but possibly be the number 1 seed. And if you're the Bears, you could win this game here and then still have a chance at the 1 seed, even if San Francisco wins next week. So this game's awesome. This is going to be a great Sunday night game. It should really have a playoff feel to it. And I think it's an interesting matchup to handicap because you have two teams where I just don't know how sustainable what either one of these teams is doing is. I mean, the Bears have won game after game on turnovers. They have the least turnovers of any team and the most takeaways of any team. It's absolutely crazy. Now, the 49ers have turned the ball over a little bit this year, but a lot of those came with Mac Jones. Purdy's usually pretty good about holding on to the ball himself. But again, this seems like a game where anything could be healthy. Anything could happen. I am a little concerned from a Bears perspective. The wide receivers look like they're pretty beat up. Odunze and Luther Burden are in danger of missing this game. If both are out, as good as DJ Moore has been, that just kind of allows the 49ers to blanket him. I think they're going to double him the whole game and force Caleb Williams to throw to some of these tight ends who have struggled against the 49ers here. At the same time, this Bears defense, as long as the 49ers don't turn the ball over, I mean, I'm not saying Purdy's going to throw 5 touchdowns again, but he probably throws 3. And, we'll see McCaffrey probably run in there for 1 as well. So, again, the more I think about this, the more I like both sides here. Was kind of leaning towards the over, but again, want to wait and see what's happening with the Bears wide receivers. If the Bears wide receivers, if we get at least one of those guys or both, we'll probably end up with an over here. Maybe some Bears +3, because again, as we talked about earlier, this game does look like it has some home field advantage built into it. And, San Francisco, it's a great stadium. It's a great fan base, but, I'm not building in more than half a point here. Yeah. So again, as much as I have failed to trust the Bears all season, it's probably Bears or pass.
Buddy, I'm with you 100%. Like it's so with this being the Sunday night game, we don't have, the full Friday injury report for this as we're recording this, but Luther Burden got in back-to-back limiteds, which is pretty good. That's seems like sign. He's probably going to go. I think Rome Odunze's not DNP a couple of times for him, but I think if you're going to get Burden back here in this one, and man, Kittle doesn't go, and I can find 3.5s. I'm going to hate click the Bears. I don't love this team. I don't love either one of these teams, but at the same time, it's like the sample size is here. We're in week 17. I can't sit here and doubt what's happening on the field anymore.
Yeah, we have to respect the Bears.
Yeah, I mean, you got to respect both of these teams. I don't know how San Francisco's doing what they're doing with this defense that is incredibly limited and again, just basically throwing all these little 8-yard passes over and over again to McCaffrey and Kittle and Juwan Johnson. I don't know how they're doing it, but they're doing it. And so that said, I think Chicago can run. On this San Francisco team. This defensive line is not any good, and I think that this offensive line for the Bears is good, and I do think that they do have some really good run scheme stuff and whatever. And so I have a pretty strong lean to Chicago. Might be looking into some like Monangai props and things and stuff like that. I think he could have a pretty decent game here, and they always line him at a little lower of a number as well. So if I'm getting close to a 50-50 split, I'll be pretty happy with that too. And I just don't know if they can ever put McCaffrey reception stuff like high enough. I mean, he's a wide receiver at this point. The dude he's not a running back. I mean, like, he is a wide receiver at this point. I don't know if they can possibly make the number high enough for me not to at least be somewhat attracted to it.
No, the only thing, too, I'll say about the Bears run game, their starting center is questionable this week. He did practice on Wednesday limited, so hopefully that's a good sign. And I agree. If he can play and this Bears offensive line is solid, probably find a way again to play some Anungai and, Swift overs, because I think both of them can hit their rushing over. And again, and my always love of trying to trick the same game parlay machine, if you put Swift yards over and Monangai yards over together, you're going to get some nice numbers because you've got a negative correlation there, or what should be. But I think from a game script perspective, we really have a chance of that. And then McCaffrey, we just have to note it's maybe a little bit of a long shot, but he's got 849 receiving yards. He's got 1,000 rushing yards. If he can get 151 receiving yards in the last 2 games, he becomes the first player in NFL history to have 1,000 yards rushing and 1,000 yards receiving in the same season. It's absolutely incredible what he's doing.
Yeah, just unbelievably fun game here on Sunday night. So glad that we get this one. And again, if you don't have that out over at Bet365, head over to lineups to make sure take advantage of that. Of course, everything we do here on this channel absolutely free. Hit that subscribe button down below and let us know in the comment section how you are going to play this awesome game that means so much over in the NFC here in week number 17. For Noops, I am Matt. Good luck on all your week 17 bets.
Bet $5, get $300 in bonus bets, win or lose, with Bet365 Sportsbook. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER, 21 plus only. T&Cs apply. In-app only.